Rerun me win. Hello guys, I'm James, the Christian Take. Tips for fathers. I'm just going to read this whole lesson real quick. Link below if you want the paper version. Tips for godly fathers. Disclaimer, if you want to be a superficial dad that just tosses the ball in the yard every evening because some psychiatrist told you to, tells vulgar jokes in private, goes deep sea fishing every other summer out of compulsion from your wife, gives the kids a beer when mom's not around, takes father-son hikes with the Boy Scouts annually simply to prove to your neighbor across the street that you and your kid have a bond, or just want to make a carbon copy of yourself through your child, please find something else to watch or read that will boost your fatherhood ego. God did not just randomly pick out Abraham to tell him about the impending destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities of the plain. He specifically states, "Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him." Aside from the blessing and future that he covenanted to give Abraham in Genesis 12, God specifically mentions a key to the reason why he even bothered to mention to this man what he was going to do. This key deals with a father and his children. God said, "For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment." Godly education. The first tip to being a godly father is providing a godly education for your child. This is quintessential because we actually live in a tri-universe comprised of the spiritual and mental and physical realms. For a dad to ignore the true impulses and laws of the creation we live in and to pass that ignorance on to their child is both dangerous and illogical. To the naked, untrained eye, the raining of fire and brimstone out of heaven onto Sodom and Gomorrah is a pure freak accident of nature. There is no explanation in the natural realm for it. An ungodly person would not even know that God had to execute judgment on the sins of that city. Genesis 18 through 19 tells the whole story. They would not tell their children that there are spiritual laws in effect that can either help or hinder every person's life and future. They would teach them stuff mentally and physically, but there would be a missing leg on the kitchen stool. It's like living life with only two of the three primary colors. Sure, you can see, but can you see how it's meant to be? Spiritual training. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. This training is not just reading and writing and arithmetic. Most schools can handle that. This training is not basketball, baseball, and football. Any well-seasoned human coach can provide that. This training is not leadership, courtesy, and financial management. Even a book can explain those. This training encompasses all three realms, spirit, soul, and body. And the father is the primary person responsible for the spiritual well-being of his children. God said Abraham would teach his children, not Sarah. God said because of Adam's sin, the earth was cursed, not Eve's. God held Job responsible for what happened to his family, not Job's wife. Fathers hold a very special place in the nurture and admonition of the Lord where their children are concerned. They cannot pass the buck when eternity comes around. Justice and judgment. Right and wrong are the constants of the universe, and any sensible father will encourage their child to walk in integrity and wisdom. However, justice and judgment are not simple moral concepts. Justice is seeking right despite feelings and opinions. Judgment is ending a spiritual, mental, or physical argument. Again, these are not mindsets that ignorance of the spirit realm will create. Abraham knew the justice and judgment of God. In fact, he said, "Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" An ungodly person will not even know that God chose to tell Abraham about Sodom and Gomorrah because he knew Abraham would intercede for those wicked cities. Abraham worked God down from 50 to just 10 righteous people in the cities as a criteria for them being saved from destruction. Abraham knew to ask God for mercy instead of shrugging his shoulders and saying, "Oh well." This understanding of God created an account of God's mercy in the very first book of the Bible. However, we must remember that God told Abraham because he would command his children and his household after him, and that they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment. Abraham's disposition to pass the knowledge of God unto his posterity and household, servants, etc., is why God brought Abraham into the loop of world events. Note, God does not tell ungodly men and women important information like that unless they are in a leadership position and have a responsibility resting upon them concerning the charge of other people. This is because their response will not be what God needs. He needed intercession, not gossip or excuses concerning those cities. The role of father is not something to lightly esteem. Children grow into adults, fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandmas, leaders, world movers, and they ultimately take what they learn from their parents and shape their world. Whether it's for good or bad, positive or negative, what they pick up spiritually, mentally, and physically from their dads and moms, via action or inaction, presence or absence, kindness or hatred, etc., they are going to train their future children in the exact same way. If fathers don't follow Abraham's example, God will not be able to interact with them like he did with Abraham. God will not be able to give them insight into the spiritual and mental and physical issues of their and their children's lives. God will not be able to use them to intercede and help and deliver others. Rather, he will have to just sit and watch that proud dad have his kids grow up and be virtually powerless concerning the spiritual, mental, and physical universes that we live in. Knowledge of and passing along of spiritual wisdom is quintessential to the paradigm of fatherhood if lasting success is a desired outcome. And how cool would it be if God could tell your son or daughter about something like he did Abraham, but they'd be able to stop the judgment? Think about that. Happy Father's Day. Like, comment, and subscribe. Live, move, be. I love you. Bye.